I've done a lot of systems training over the years, and this is a trick I learned several years into my career. But I really wish I'd learned it way sooner. There are two big issues you almost always run into with systems training. Issue number one, you may need to hide sensitive customer information, especially if you're creating training that's customer-facing and not strictly internal. For example, you may need to obscure names, phone numbers, addresses, company names, etc. In the past, I would edit the image to blur or block the information. Or, if it was video, I'd pull it into After Effects and edit it there, which usually meant tedious keyframing, especially if the screen content scrolled or zoomed. Issue number two, you may be building training with screens you already know are going to change. For example, your company updates branding, and suddenly the accent colors in the system will be changing. Yes, you can scramble to do a final recording once everything is actually developed and done. Or, if the system is HTML-based, you can proactively update what you see on the screen yourself before you record. Although, I would recommend working with UX to ensure you are making accurate updates. Let's get into it. Let's look at an example. This is a website for the Treehouse Play Cafe, a local place my son loves to go to. Let's say we want a couple changes. This button should actually be green, with a dark green hover state. And the text should read, "Reach out." And then we're going to visit the cafe page, but the top borderline that shows up on hover should be green to match the button, and the text cafe should actually be food. First, let's update the button. Open up DevTools for your browser. I'm in Chrome, so I can press F12 to open DevTools. You can also right-click anywhere on the page and select Inspect. Next, click the arrow icon at the top left of DevTools. This allows you to select an element in the page to inspect. Then click the Contact button on the page. That lets us jump straight to the code for that section. Now let's update the button text to Reach Out. You may need to drill down a bit, but you're looking for the button text in the HTML. Here we go. Double-click Contact, type the updated text and press Enter. And you can see Reach Out now displays in the button. Now let's update the CSS for this object to change the button from this brown olive color to green. After selecting a line of HTML, look down at the style panel underneath it. This color here is the text color, so that's not what we want. The field we're looking for is background. Let's go up a level. Nope, not here either. Let's go up another level. Here we go. All right, let's update this to a bold green. Now we want to update the hover state to a dark green. To do that, we need to check the box next to hover to force the element state so we can edit it. You can see the hover state is now being shown on the screen, and we can also see the hover background color in the CSS. Let's update this hover color to a dark green. We can also see this hover state has a border, so let's update that color as well. Now deselect the forced hover state and move your mouse over the button to preview the changes. Okay, one more thing. Now that we changed the hover button color, the black text is hard to read. Let's change that to white. So we're going to find the HTML for the text again, and then force the hover state again. Okay, and I'm glad I have an example like this to show you. Hover states can be a little tricky sometimes. I selected hover for the text, but you can see on the screen the original white font is still displayed, and the CSS still shows white. So sometimes you have to play around a bit to get the right element in the right state. And don't be afraid to experiment. You're not changing the real site code. Any changes you make here are temporary and only visible to you. As soon as the page reloads, everything resets. So let's go back up, select the button again, and force the hover state again. Then select the text object again. Now the hover CSS is editable. Let's update this to white and then deselect hover on both the text and the button. Perfect, this is exactly what we wanted. When we hover over the button, our updated button color and text color are showing. And let's work through one more example. We want cafe to actually say food, and we want the line of color that displays on hover to match the green button. First, let's select the element on the screen and update the text. Okay, good. Now we need to find the CSS for the colored line so we can edit it. This one can also be a bit tricky. I'm going up level by level and forcing hover, but I can't seem to find the CSS that needs to be updated. So instead, let's try right-clicking directly on the line and selecting Inspect. There we go. Now we can see the details for the border top color. Let's change that to match the green button. Now when we hover over food in the menu, the line is the green we selected. And notice this change is actually reflecting for all menu items we hover over. Keep in mind, when you move to a new screen, all of the changes you made will reset. So you'll need to pause your recording and make the updates once more. And that's it. No keyframing, no scramble to redo screen recordings. Just quick edits right where you need them. Remember, these changes are temporary and only visible to you, so refresh to reset anytime. Once you get the hang of it, this becomes a huge time saver.